Hello and welcome back to Bookmark Chronicles. Today I'm here to do the finish the book tag. To be totally honest, I don't remember who I saw do this or when. I just have it written down with no name next to it. I also have no idea who the original creator is, so I will look for them and tag them in the description below. It's been a minute since I've done a tag, so let's get into it. The first question is, do you keep a list of the books that you have read? Yes, I do. I update my reading on the StoryGraph. I technically also still have Goodreads, although all of my Goodreads reviews link to the StoryGraph. And I also have a spreadsheet of all of my reads for the year and a spreadsheet of series that I am currently reading. Question number 2 is, if you record stats, what stats do you record? That's a great question. I should probably open my stats from last year and see, because I don't remember. I don't do monthly stats because I don't really feel like I read enough for that. So I only do my stats once a year, and that's at the end of the year. All right, so typically my stats include total books read and DNFs. I will include whatever the page count says on the StoryGraph. Is it always totally accurate? To be honest, I don't think so. Even on Goodreads, I don't think that's totally accurate, because what I do like about StoryGraph is that you can include pages that you've read and books that you DNF'd. So just the little part that you did read does count towards your page count. So I like that, but then there's also the issue of reading audiobooks and potentially DNFing an audiobook and what that converts to in pages. Otherwise, I typically include monthly breakdown of how many books I read each month, a genre breakdown of what I've read over the year, how my ratings have been throughout the year, my shortest and longest books, rereads, and format is one that I want to include starting this year. And I'm kind of keeping track of that myself, because sometimes I will do a blended read of something. So I'll listen to the audiobook and follow along with either the physical copy or the ebook. So hopefully I'll be adding that into my stats this year. Question number 3 is, do you give star ratings for books? And if so, what do you score books out of, and how do you come about this score? So I do use the 5-star scale, but I also include quarter and half-star ratings, which is another thing that I really like about the StoryGraph, is that you can actually include that in your rating. Typically, anything that I rate 4.75 or 5 stars will be on my best of at the end of the year, and anything that I rate between 1 and 2.5 stars will be on my worst of. 3 is pretty average. Typically, that is a book that was just okay. Like, I didn't feel that it was great, but I also really didn't hate it. And then also sometimes something might be like a high 3, like a 2.35, or maybe a low 3, a 2.75. And a 2.75 is, it was meh pretty much, but it also wasn't terrible enough to be on my worst of list, if that makes any sense. Question number 4 is, do you review books? Indeed I do, both on this channel, sometimes on Book Talk. I do write reviews on the StoryGraph for most of my books as well. Occasionally, if I know that I'm going to do a review, then I won't leave a full review on the StoryGraph, but I do typically give some sort of thoughts, feelings, questions, whatever, if I'm going to post on the StoryGraph, which is all the time, so yes. Question number 5, where do you put your finished books? I'm guessing that means like after I've read them, like physically. Where do I put them? Somewhere behind me. So the thing that I've done this year though is that books that I have not read, I moved to the top of my bookshelf to help me remember that I need to read them, and that has gone very well. I finally read Children's Blood and Bone. Had that book probably since it came out. So that's been helpful. If I like them, I'll keep them. So I keep books that I've rated 4 or 5 stars pretty much, or anywhere between that range. 3 stars or less I don't always hold on to unless it's part of a series and I liked the other 2 books in the series. So for example, with the David Bode trilogy, I really love City of Brass. I gave Kingdom of Copper 4 stars, but Empire of Gold got 2 stars, but I wanted the complete trilogy, so I have all 3 of them. I'm probably gonna get rid of Girls of Paper and Fire now that I'm looking at that, but yeah, so I keep the ones that I enjoy. The others I either donate to my library of Black literature, or I will donate them to a local indie bookstore, or I will sell them on my Pango bookshop. So it really just depends. Question number 6, how do you pick your next book? I do create monthly TBRs, and I do tend to stick to that. Right now, I'm focusing on reading what I have on my shelf, so that's kind of how I prioritize, but it really just depends on what I feel like reading, and if I can't decide what I want to read, I ask Robin and Dasha to pick for me. Question number 7, do you have any other rituals when you have finished a book? I think my ritual at this point is to write my StoryGraph review, link my Goodreads to my StoryGraph review, add it to my spreadsheet. If it's a series, I change the color on the color spreadsheet. So like green is what I've completed, yellow is what I'm reading now, red if I DNF, and then I decide if I'm gonna keep it or not. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it. If I'm gonna do a video review for YouTube, then I will type out like everything that I want to talk about. So I always start with the characters in my reviews. I'll go over characters, plot points, what I liked, what I disliked, my rating and all of that, and I'll type that out just so that I have not necessarily a script, but that I have all of my thoughts in one place so that I can reference it during the review and I don't forget anything. I don't always do all of that before I start my next read, but I would prefer to. I try to do it within a few days of finishing the book at least, so that it's still a fresh feeling, but for the most part, that's been going pretty well. And then the last question is, who do you tag? I'm going to tag Robin, Dasha, Nat, if she hasn't done this already, I'm not sure. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, this is fun. I feel like I don't really talk about my process for rating and reviewing and all of that, so this was pretty good. And anyone else who sees this, if you feel compelled to do it, consider yourself tagged. Otherwise, that is all for me today, and I'll see you in the next video.